Hey, this is Paula White, also known as Ms. Ganjapreneur, and you're listening to the Mega Talks podcast.
iTunes, iHeartRadio, Podbean, Spotify, select episodes on YouTube. Remember, those are the places that you can listen to the Mega Talks podcast. Share with a friend. Let them know that you're listening. If you're on one of the platforms, leave me some feedback. Let me know what you think about the Mega Talks podcast. I record a new podcast every Monday and publish it. It's available at the top of the day, Sunday at midnight. Today, I'm going to be talking about UFC266, a little post show. Watched the fights, really great fights. I felt that it was going to be an exciting card, so I tuned in to watch. A lot of times, people say some cards don't look good on paper. And if you watch the fights and you're a fan of martial arts and you watch, usually you're entertained in some type of way. So I'm going to start out with the Diaz versus Lawler fight. You can talk about Diaz versus Lawler too. Some of you guys that are already fans, you know the history, they fought before, and just initially the thoughts on the fight. I was glad to see Diaz come back to fight after so long and to fight a good opponent, somebody that he just couldn't walk through. Somebody's going to stand in front of his face and give him a fight. It's definitely an entertaining fight. I like that. When Lawler came out, you could see he was just ready to go. He's like a dog off his leash. When he got in there, they started scrapping it. They were in each other's face. Some people would say they were brawling, but it was a lot of technical things going on for slipping, grabbing angles. There was a lot of punches being taken. There was a lot of education there where them figuring out where they don't want to be versus where they want to be to inflict damage to the other person. One of the things following leading up to the fight was that the fight was originally at 170 and they moved it to 185, and it kind of raised an eyebrow with me because it said that I think Diaz wanted to raise the weight up to 185. It raised a little eyebrow as to his shape and not wanting to do the weight cut or couldn't do the weight cut for whatever reason. Maybe there was injury. Who knows what the background on that is. But initially, viewing him coming into the fight in the shape, he wasn't in the, in the Diaz fashion as we remember it, because it's been a long time. Well, but like I said, you don't know if that's because of his shape or what kind of camp he had, or whether it was due to injury or just coming back and his body didn't respond the same. There's a lot of different reasons that you can speculate on. But nonetheless, the fight was happening, and I was excited to see it happen. Maybe you thought the fight started a little slow. Diaz took a lot of punches at the beginning. We don't know, reasons for that. He didn't really say in a post-fight interview or nothing. And Lawler done a post-fight interview, where he said he was ready to go. And he was going to be in his face and, push the pace. And eventually, we saw Diaz. He took a fall. He got knocked down, got caught with a little check hook and fell down, didn't get back up, didn't answer back to the ref. So they gave Lawler the TKO win. And some people say Diaz, he quit. Some say he was injured. Some say a lot of different types of things. Now, it could have been an accumulation of all those things. There were sometimes in the fight when you saw Diaz look a little unstable, using the cage to hold himself up, whether his knee was bad, whether he had an injury that, prevented him from cutting weight or couldn't cut weight. You never know what's going on. Not everybody's going to talk about those things and be, totally transparent to what's going on. Nonetheless, he lost the fight. He's not going to come up there and make excuses as to why he lost. We may find out 6 months down the road, 6 years down the road, exactly what was going through his mind at the time. And this is one thing that we talk about in people with sports or people in life in general, is like you'll get a lot of people out there that accuse a person of giving up, and you should never give up, and you're a quitter. And we've seen this recently at the Olympics. An athlete has a choice whether to go out there and perform or not. And for whatever reasons that they have, choose not to. And a lot of people will call him a quitter and look down on him. And it's not that I'm looking down, but I don't hear a lot of talk about that from people talking about that with fighters. Don't look at it the same as an Olympic competition when it should be the same across the board. If a person makes a decision, it's that person's got to live with the decision. Nobody's life was at danger. It wasn't, of super important situation to where you needed to finish. So, moving on to the Volkanovski versus Ortega, I was interested in seeing this fight. Ortega's sides I thought would be difficult for Volkanovski to deal with. Would rather seen more of the fight contested on the ground. Nonetheless, I was entertained by the fight. Ortega got some tight submissions. Volkanovski admitted to that he was in a tight guillotine from the mount. He struggled to get out, finally got his chin out and was able to escape. The second submission he fell in with was a triangle, which, T-City, he's named after the triangle. And that was his signature move. Looking at it, it doesn't appear to be tight, but when you're that deep into a fight, both fighters have been through some adversity. They're starting to wear. They're starting to get tired. The choke, Volkanovski didn't really escape, so to speak, but he did just kind of fall out of it. Whether Ortega kind of transitioned and let him out to get to a more dominant position, he may have done that. But nonetheless, he survived and kept going, and almost lost his belt. But that's another thing about. He's in the middle of a match, and he's got the decision whether to tap. And he's, he already made up his mind. He wasn't going to tap. So he uses his hands to escape, which is what you're supposed to do. But in many situations, I've seen people where they would go straight to the tap and wouldn't even bother to defend. But you take somebody like that didn't give up and just, let it happen. He fought, and he was in the fight, whether he was going out or not. Hats off to him. A lot of people can't say the same, and a lot of people won't do the same and probably can't do the same. But good outcome for the fight. Retains his belt, wins off a decision. Great fight. Moving on to the next fight with Valentina versus Lauren Murphy. It was this was the one I watch the fights for, because I like to watch Valentina fight. And one of the reasons I like watching her fight is she's very disciplined in what she does, and she's very calculated in what she does. I believe she has a skill set to where if you give her a certain circumstance to deal with, she's going to do A, B, or C, and that's exactly what she's going to stick to. You give her a slightly different situation, and she has a whole other response for it. It's like any situation she goes into, she has a calculated response. And some of the times I was watching to see how much she actually attacked versus counter and versus reactions. And it's interesting to watch. She comes out, fights out of the left hand southpaw stance. A lot of people you see out of southpaw battle for that foot to be on the outside. She's fine with being toe to toe because she'll do a lot of kicking, and she uses her lead hand as a hook to kind of coax that person back in, as opposed to her trying to step outside. And when she throws that little short hook, a lot of people will fade to the inside or want to slip to the inside, which sets them up for the high kick. And the thing that Lauren Murphy's corner was telling her during rounds, the first 3 rounds, I know they were telling her how great a job that she was doing, and to just keep up with what she's doing. When she was stepping directly into Valentina's punches and going where Valentina wanted her to go, but her corner wasn't pointing those things out, and she was taking some damage. She wasn't exactly moving backwards at that point, but she was taking damage. But her corner did holler out that, to watch for the high kick. And to me, when I'm watching, she's setting her up for the high kick, but she's she's just been going low. She hadn't hit with a solid high kick yet. But that's something they should have been telling her early in the fight, not waiting to the third round, because third round she was already behind. She lost the first 2 rounds, but they didn't show any kind of urgency to, solve the problems in the corner and come up with, adapt in their plan. Their plan seemed to be the same. But as the fight went on, you see Valentina, she starts to spin a little bit more. And this is where, to me, Lauren was moving away and to the outside of the lead foot, which set up Valentina's spin attacks. Valentina kind of gives her that dilemma of if you move left, I'm going to kick you, and I'm going to hit you with the left hand and the lead hook. Or if you step the other way, I'm going to spin, hit you with the spinning heel kick, spinning hook kick, turning side kick, spinning back fist. There's a lot of things that she comes up with. If you close the distance, I'm going to underhook you, body lock you, and take your back and put you on the ground. And what's unique, what I think is unique, is when Valentina gets the body lock on her right before the takedown. She doesn't force the takedown and aggressively wrestle you to the ground. If she sees you going to the cage, she kind of lets you have it, but she'll punish you when you get there. But if you give her the slight bit of movement and your balance is off, is when she reacts and she takes you down. And it doesn't take a split second. When she takes you down, she sticks to you like glue. Like I said, calculated, very technical. Just didn't give anybody any room to breathe once you get on the ground. There was one point that people started to boo when she had Lauren on her back. She really wasn't letting her up. She wasn't striking a whole lot, but she was trying to get Lauren to turn her back, and she was only giving her one out. But Lauren didn't want to give up her back, which is, smart on her part. But for the people out there that just want to see the excitement, submissions, and knockouts, it may have been boring for you guys, but me as a martial artist, I like seeing the small battles and the big battles, and that was one of a small battle that could have, led to more devastating consequences. But nonetheless, Valentina put on a show. She won the fight, kept her belt, and, can't wait to see what's next for her and who she fights next. And, despite weight classes or sizes, Valentina is one fighter that I would like to see fight Rose Namajunas. I think that would make a good matchup. You can call that super fight, whatever that you want to call it. I think there's a few matchups out there like that for them that could be super fights that would really be entertaining to watch. So we'll see what kind of comes next. But those are my little post-fight rundowns of UFC 266. If you hadn't seen the fights, I'm sure you can catch it out there on social media, some of the highlights. Go catch it. It's one that you didn't want to miss. And I'll talk to you guys in the next episode. If you have any thoughts on the fights or any comments, you know where to find me. Leave me a comment, shoot me a message, or what have you. And catch you guys next Monday for another episode on the Mega Talks podcast.